The sheriff's office in Columbia County is left shaken after one of their deputies was killed, another hospitalized during a traffic stop that ended in gunfire. And that's where we do want to begin. Thanks so much for joining us for Fox 5 News at 6. I'm Eric Perry. It has been a tough week for law enforcement across Georgia. A second officer killed in less than 10 days, and the fourth to be in the hospital by gunfire. Now, this all happened last night just after 6:30 on Interstate 20 in Augusta. That's when sheriff's deputies with the Columbia County Sheriff's Office conducted a traffic stop on a motorhome they say was driven by James Montgomery. It started out, they say, as a routine traffic stop. Investigators say those deputies informed Montgomery he had to be served with a protective order due to a domestic violence incident between he and his wife. We're told he seemed to be okay with that. The deputies turned their backs to walk back to their cruisers to get the paperwork, and that's when they say things turned deadly.
As two of the deputies turned to walk away from the motorhome to go back to their patrol vehicle, Mr. Montgomery produced a 9mm AR pistol that he had converted into a fully automatic weapon. And he fired on 3 deputies from the sheriff's office.
All right, Deputy Brandon Sykes was killed. A second deputy, Gavin White, was shot in the face. Thankfully, he's alive, but he is in critical condition. We're told he's in surgery on his nasal and facial cavities. They say he's able to communicate and use his movement of his hands and feet. That's the good news here. When it comes to Montgomery, he was believed to still be inside that motorhome. We're working to get more information, but we can tell you there was a pipe bomb believed to be inside of that RV or that motorhome. They're working to learn more, but they do say that suspect is dead. Of course, we'll continue to follow this. We'll have the latest when you join us tonight starting.
Much love and respect to everyone tuning in. I don't take your time or support for granted. Thank you for being here and for standing with truth, because only real conversations like this expose what others try to hide. Now, let's get into what you just heard. Here we go again, yet another little publicized shooting of law enforcement officers, another tragic situation that doesn't make national headlines. This time it happened in Columbus, Georgia earlier this year in April, where a man identified as James Blake Montgomery ambushed 2 deputies as they turned their backs. Walking away from his RV, they were simply there to serve him a protective order, a simple piece of paper, and this man turned it into a deadly ambush. This is not just another story. It's a reflection of how dark things have gotten out here. He was living inside that camper, isolated, angry, and according to his wife, he had already made threats, saying if the police ever come, he was going to kill her. And kill them, he meant every single word of it, because when the moment came, he acted on it. He didn't hesitate. He didn't run. He waited. Until they turned around and he opened fire with a fully automatic weapon, a gun he himself had modified. He turned his pain into violence and his anger into destruction. And now a deputy is dead and another one clings to life. And once again, it barely makes the news. Nobody is talking about it. Nobody is asking the hard questions about who this man really was and why the system ignored all the warning signs. This man's wife had already told the police he was dangerous. She said he was making bombs. She said he had guns. She said he had threatened her, and yet nothing was done. This man was living like a ticking time bomb, waiting for the right moment to explode, and when that moment came, he made sure everyone felt it. I'm going to show you another video from the police giving more details about what happened. But before that, I want you to understand, this wasn't random. This wasn't spontaneous. This was a man who was building his own destruction for years. A man who had a history of violence and instability, and nobody took it seriously. They called it domestic issues. They called it mental health. But at the end of the day, this was pure evil. And now families are broken, hearts are shattered, and communities are left in pain over something that could have been stopped. So watch this next part carefully, because in it you'll see not only what happened that day, but how deeply rooted the problem truly is. Just watch.
These are the two deputies from Saturday's deadly traffic stop. Deputy Brandon Skies was killed and Deputy Gavin White was injured when suspect James Blake Montgomery shot them. Now, we do have new details, including what led up to that deadly shooting. Your Sydney Hood has the latest.
A different site over I-20 just 24 hours ago. Blue lights lit up this area near exit 194. All that is clear now. But what happened here is forever on the minds of those who travel through here.
The noise never stops. The mourning will never end. Many will never forget what happened, and many will never stop questioning why it happened. This all started during a traffic stop.
As deputies approached the vehicle and spoke with the driver, Mr. Montgomery, he was cooperative, non-threatening. They informed him that they had a protective order, a temporary protective order for a domestic violence case between he and his wife, and that they needed to serve him with that protective order.
Sheriff Whittle says Montgomery was cooperative at first.
As two of the deputies turned to walk away from the motorhome to go back to their patrol vehicle, Mr. Montgomery produced a 9mm AR pistol that he had converted into a fully automatic weapon. And he fired on 3 deputies from the sheriff's office, striking 2 of them.
One was Deputy Brandon Sykes, who was killed on scene.
He is survived by his wife, Amber, who is also an employee here of the sheriff's office. And it's going to be a difficult time from the sheriff's office.
The other deputy, Gavin White, survived and faces a long road of recovery.
We're going to get through this. We just ask that everyone keep us in their thoughts and prayers.
Numerous agencies assisted Columbia County for hours as deputies searched the motorhome.
Once we determined that Mr. Montgomery was deceased inside the motorhome, we could see items in the motorhome by way of the drones and the robot that resembled bomb material. And it was in fact that. Mr. Montgomery had pipe bombs and other paraphernalia in the motorhome, one of which was rigged with a remote switch inside the motorhome.
Sheriff Whittle says the GBI, Richmond County, and SLED bomb squads had to carefully get inside the motorhome.
We found several more handguns, numerous magazines for that fully automatic AR that had been converted to fully auto.
After an hours-long search, lasting well into the night and early morning, deputies are now left mourning one of their own, and a community is coming together to honor those that put their lives on the line to protect. In Columbia County, Sydney Hood, on your side.
And thank you for that, Sydney. We're going to give you another look at those deputies. Brandon Sykes had been with the Columbia County Sheriff's Office since 2018, serving on the crime suppression team. His wife also works at the Sheriff's Office. His autopsy will be today. The second deputy, Gavin White, who was injured during the shooting, has a long road to recovery, but Sheriff Whittle says that he is upbeat and strong. Whittle says as the suspect was firing at the officers, Deputy Andrew Brown was able to drag White's body to a patrol car and rush him to the hospital, likely saving his life. White is recovering at Wellstar after having surgery yesterday morning. Columbia County's regional investigation team is in charge of this investigation. It includes officers from Richmond County, Burke County, and Columbia County. The team was started years ago to investigate incidents just like this. Sheriff Whittle also spoke about mental health in the community during the press conference. He says it's something that law enforcement has to deal with every single day.
Unfortunately, this is what law enforcement is facing every day, Austin. The mental illness in this country is rampant, and nothing is being done about it. There's a lot of talk about it. There's a lot of words. Everybody wants to give people narcotics of some sort to fix their problems. But I think most of you know, as we do, that unless they take that medication diligently, there's just a lot of people out there that can't function in society, and they're a danger to society.
And there you go. Just like I said, I waited and waited and waited through the whole press conference, through all the statements, through all the sorrowful tones and the sympathetic words, and right at the end they dropped it. Mental health. Every single time, it's always the same story. You hear the sheriff saying, "We have to do something about mental health in this country." And that's the moment I knew where this was going. Why can't this man just be called what he really is? Pure evil. Why does it always have to be softened, excused, and rebranded as some kind of illness when the person behind the trigger doesn't look like us? Every single time a white man commits a horrific act of violence, kills innocent people, destroys families, plants bombs, or opens fire on officers, it's always, he was mentally ill, he was struggling, he needed help. But when it's a black person, the tone changes instantly. Suddenly it's thug, savage, monster, criminal, danger to society. They don't talk about medication or therapy or mental health reform then. They talk about tougher laws, longer sentences, and how they feared for their lives. The double standard is glaring and it's insulting. This man, James Blake Montgomery, was not a victim of mental illness. He was a violent, calculating individual who planned what he did. He had a switch on his weapon. That means he took time to modify a firearm into a fully automatic machine gun. That's not a moment of mental breakdown. That's premeditated engineering. He filled his RV with bombs, and they still described him as unstable or troubled, instead of calling him what he really was, a domestic terrorist. Yet, no one showed his face, no mugshot, no headline calling him a terrorist, no breaking news special with his photo plastered across the screen for days. They said a suspect. They said a man, but they never said killer or terrorist. Why? Because it doesn't fit the narrative. When a black person even looks suspicious, their photo is everywhere, their record is dug up, and their entire life story becomes public property. But when it's someone like this, the language softens, the coverage fades, and suddenly it's about compassion and understanding. So let's stop pretending. Let's call things what they are. This man was not mentally ill. He was dangerous, hateful, and deliberate. He knew what he was doing, and he wanted to kill. He wasn't having an episode. He was on a mission. And they didn't want to show his face. But I will.
Very sad situation happening out in Columbia County this evening, and it all happened around 7 when 2 deputies were shot during a traffic stop. We're checking. We know right now that 1 deputy is dead and 1 is still in critical condition fighting for their life. Meredith Anderson is live on the scene. And Meredith, have you learned anything new since we last talked to you? Can you kind of give us a rundown of what's going on?
Hallie, I want to draw your attention to the still very active investigation that is going on behind me. We've been told the suspect is no longer a threat, but we're really not sure if the RV is a threat or not. I'm going to step out of the way because just a few minutes ago, when Sydney was giving her traffic update, you heard that explosion. As soon as she was off the air, there was another one not too long ago. And we're told that's likely deputies making entry to this RV. Now, the suspect had some bolos, we're told, for pipe bombs and some weapons. So they are working to try to get into that RV. I mean, this is unfolding as we speak. They're trying to, first of all, see if it's safe for them to enter. And second of all, what kind of weapons, what kind of pipe bombs might be in there. There might not be any. There might be a lot. So obviously the interstate is shut down for a reason, as these deputies are investigating, and that could potentially be a big reason why. Again, we don't know what's in that RV, and since that bolo went out that he could potentially have pipe bombs, it's a very dangerous situation. But again, we are out here monitoring that for you, and really just the fact that a deputy lost his life tonight is the overall sentiment here, just a somber night as all of this is unfolding behind us.
Just a sad, sad Saturday night. We just want to give our thoughts and our prayers to all of our men who protect us each and every day, men and women.
This right here. This is him. This is James Blake Montgomery, the man who killed 1 deputy, almost killed another, and tried to take the lives of those just doing their jobs. Look at him. This is the monster they're calling mentally ill. Look at how quick they are to rewrite the truth when the face behind the crime doesn't fit the usual story. And there you see, once again, 3 videos, 3 full reports, 3 different angles covering the same horrific crime. The cold-blooded killing of a law enforcement officer, a man who swore to protect and serve his community, and the near death of another deputy who is still fighting for his life. Yet in all of those reports, with all of the details and the sympathy and the tears, not one single photo of the man who caused all this destruction. Why not? Somebody out there needs to really ask themselves why not. Why do they hide the faces of some killers but expose others before the investigation even begins? His wife warned the police ahead of time. She said it clearly. This man was dangerous. He was unstable. He had weapons. He had bombs. He had threatened to kill her and anyone who came close. She begged for help. His own family said they told law enforcement that if anyone approached that RV, he would open fire before they even reached the door. These weren't hidden secrets. They were loud warnings. But still, they handled him gently, cautiously, respectfully, as if he was just a man who needed a conversation, not an armed domestic terrorist waiting for his chance to strike. This man had pipe bombs, automatic weapons, and a lifetime of dangerous behavior, yet they called it mental health. They didn't call it terrorism. They didn't call it hate. They didn't call it evil. They gave it a title that protects him from accountability. And that right there is the problem. Because when evil comes in one color, the media finds explanations, excuses, sympathy. But when it comes in another color, it's criminalized instantly, demonized before the facts even surface, executed before the trial. That's the America we live in, an America that filters violence through the lens of race and comfort. This isn't just about one shooting, it's about the pattern, the silence, the way the narrative is built to protect certain faces and erase others. It's about a system that humanizes one side and dehumanizes the other. When the suspect is white, it's always troubled, disturbed, mentally ill. But when the suspect is black, it's armed and dangerous, thug, criminal. They don't talk about medication or trauma or therapy then. They talk about threat and containment. And that's how society silently tells you whose life has value and whose doesn't. The saddest part of all of this is that 2 deputies paid the price for warnings that were ignored. Their blood is on the ground because the system decided to underestimate a man who showed the world exactly who he was. If this had been someone else, in another skin, you already know how different the outcome would have been. SWA, T-teams, tanks, helicopters, headlines, mugshots plastered everywhere. But for this man, silence. For this man, mental health. For this man, understanding. And that is why stories like this need to be told. Not just for awareness, but for truth. Because truth exposes what comfort hides. Truth forces accountability where silence builds excuses. So tell me what y'all think about this story. Tell me if you see the same pattern repeating over and over again. Drop it in the comments. Let's talk about it, because this is how we create awareness and push back against the lies that divide us. Don't forget to like this video, share it with somebody who needs to see it, and subscribe to this channel so our voice can grow louder, stronger, and reach more people who believe in justice, who believe in truth, and who aren't afraid to confront the uncomfortable. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and as always, much love.